Blog Talk Radio.
Warning. What you are about to hear are the views of Travis Pope and the Oklahoma Tomcat and is not supported by the government. Agreeing with the hosts of this show could cause you to be targeted by the government and government agencies. You have been warned.
Good evening. This is Travis with Political TNT, and I say good evening, but when y'all hear it, it's going to be good morning because this is a pre-recorded show, so you cannot call in. I'm currently in my underground bunker here in Texas. Actually went home to my underground bunker, and I have my lovely wife sitting there staring at me and smiling at me. I think she's gone cuckoo. She's still with me. But, all right, Mr. Miller, don't be laughing. But anyways, y'all heard it right correctly. We do have Lee Miller with us, Jr. He's with us on the show today. Oklahoma Tomcat, he's kind of hiding. I think he's kind of scared. But he's hiding somewhere, I think Colorado. But we have Lee Miller with us today. He's a Libertarian Party candidate seeking election to the Oklahoma House of Representatives to represent District 68. He's running in the general election on November 6, 2018. So I'm gonna let him talk a little bit because we don't try to hold him up on the whole show. And Mr. Miller, tell us about what you got going on and how things are going in Oklahoma.
Well, yeah, like you said, I'm running for House District 68 here in Oklahoma, which is kind of West Tulsa, Jinx, Glenpool, kind of the west part of the suburbs of Tulsa. And so far it's been really, exciting just to go through all of this. This is my first time running. And so, just to go through the filing, standing in line with other people, filling out the paperwork, and then throughout all the campaign, knocking on doors and talking to people, seeing what really matters to them, seeing what they need me to do, once I'm elected, once I'm there in Oklahoma City, engaging with other clients, not clients, but candidates. Surprisingly, I've been invited to a couple of forums, and I don't want to call them debates, but where panels with all the candidates, and it's just been fun to engage with other people that kind of have a different mindset, a different idea on how the world should work.
Yeah. How are the standings in the libertarian movement up there? I know the libertarian movement just recently got picked up speed and got a foothold in Oklahoma, because I remember me and the Oklahoma Tomcat had an interview a few years ago with I can't quote it, but I think he might have been the original organizer in Oklahoma. And he was we had him on the show a few years ago, and it was almost like he was they had no foothold, they had no ballot access, anything when we talked to him. And a few years later, y'all just have exploded on the scene up there, and I'm really impressed. I also want to encourage, if none of y'all actually make it, which I hope y'all do, But if y'all don't, y'all have gained too much ground for anybody to lose heart and just try to give up. Because Texas, we've been down here fighting. We've been fighting. We got I can't remember how many counties we've got, but it's a fight. It's a fight, and so tell us about how far are you reaching on the ground, and what is it looking like, or have you seen any poll data?
Yeah, not for my race, and then the other polls that have come out for the gubernatorial race haven't included our candidate at all. So there's a little, discrepancy there without having, every choice on the poll. But Oklahoma, I believe we got official party access just before the 2016 election with Gary Johnson. And then Gary Johnson got, I believe, almost 6% of the vote here. I think as far as vote totals, like number of votes, I think we were like second or third in the country to vote for Gary Johnson. And with Gary Johnson getting like that 6%, we secured ballot access for the next 4 years. Because at the time, Oklahoma's law was, in order for a recognized party to remain on the ballot, I think the governor or the presidential candidate, it was just those two, depending on the cycle, had to get more than 2.5% to stay on the ballot. And so Gary got 6, so that got us 4 more years of ballot access. However, in those next 2 years, the legislature, to our advantage, has lowered that threshold. So now it's just any statewide office has to get 2.5% for a recognized party to stay on the ballot. So that's something good for us. I think I'll be honest. I don't know for sure the number of people that were registered as libertarians when we first got ballot access. But I know throughout this election cycle that every time the voter registration rolls are kind of updated, we've gained people in registration. So I think right now we're just over 8,000 libertarians for the entire state, which, really isn't a lot. But compared to 0, in 2016, pretty much, I think it's a big change and a big growth for our party.
Yeah, and I think, and I think about this that if this was to happen, we would have a whole lot more. But they don't give. Like I said earlier, like I said on the last show with that Tarians are like the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and all the reindeer don't want to let him play in their games. But who was it that let them through the snowstorm?
Yeah.
In the end.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
And they don't want to let the Libertarian Party play in the reindeer games because they don't want you to get up there and show the people that hey, there is a better candidate out there. Why don't y'all look at him? They won't let them. They won't let them in the debates. I mean, they won't even let Mark Tippett down here into the governor debate. You know.
Yeah. Now, I mean, to our credit, most of the governor forums and debates that have happened have been with all 3 parties. At one point, I think we had like 6 or 7 different people running for governor here. And so, I know the Libertarians, we had 3 guys running, for governor, which was kind of cool that we had a primary for the first time ever and a runoff for the first time ever in the Libertarian Party history here in Oklahoma. So, to their credit, most of the forums and debates here have been very inclusive. Just none of the polling, at least none that I've seen, has included our candidate. So that's the one thing that kind of sticks out to me is that, knocking door to door is a lot of people just flat out don't know what a libertarian is. Like, they've never heard of it. They don't know what it is. They don't know what it means. They don't have a clue, which to some degree is a good thing, because that means they haven't seen the, CNN clip of the guy dancing around in his Speedo, So that's a good thing.
Now you done it. Now you done it. Now you done it. Now I can't erase that. I can't erase that. Now
I'm sorry.
Now
I'm sorry to bring it up.
Now everybody's gonna go on there and look for the libertarian Speedo clip.
It's true. It may have hurt us more than helped, but going door to door, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty nice when you share. Hey, we believe in limited government. We support the Constitution. We support the Bill of Rights. We support gun ownership. We support ending the wars. We support ending the war on drugs. We support free speech. And a lot of these concepts, people resonate with them, because they see whatever party they've associated with before, they see the difference in what the party was like previously as it is today. Like, gone are the days where Republicans actually represent a limited government. Gone are the days when Democrats actually supported civil liberties, free speech, and an anti-war left. So they can look back and see how their party has progressed to the point where now, it's, to me, I think it's just about power. It's just about being in charge and telling other people what they can and can't do. That's what that's what the other two parties are after now.
I wonder how far of an impact it would be if you was to put up two signs in Tulsa, two or three signs in Oklahoma City. That's the only two cities y'all have there. That's worth anything.
Come on.
And maybe a couple of other signs, other parts of the state out in the country, and it says real simple. Say no to the state income tax. Vote Libertarian.
Yeah. That's definitely something I'd like to see happen. I think what I'd like to see that I believe a more attainable goal that until then is eliminating sales tax on food. I don't understand why we have to pay the government to eat, which is what we do every time we pay sales tax at the grocery store. I don't get it. I don't think there's any justifiable reason for it. It's just simply we want money, and so no one's thought it through. That food shouldn't be something we're paying the government to do.
Yeah. I don't think down here in Texas we have sales tax on certain foods. Now, if it's like 100% fruit juice or something like that, or fruit or vegetables, bread, I don't think we have a sales tax on that stuff. But if you buy a bag of chips, you don't put sales tax on it because because the way they look at it is it's not 100% food, and which I agree. Most of the chips and the junk food is not 100% food. I'm willing to talk about that kind of stuff because there is an argument there. I think that you're kind of buying the service of making potato chips, and so I'm willing to talk about that. But milk, bread, eggs, stuff that everybody pretty much uses, unless you're allergic to it. I don't see the point. I just don't see the point. Down here in Texas, we don't pay on like milk. We don't pay taxes on milk, bread, and food, but you would on a bag of chips, right?
Yeah.
And a soda. Yeah. So anything that's 100% real food, like something you got to cook, meat and stuff like that, is not taxed. But like if you go to a grocery store and you buy a juice for 100, that's 100%, you don't pay a sales tax. But if it says 99% juice, that 1%, you just got taxed.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting how other candidates, other parties talk about, the economic movement of, people that don't make a lot of money or minorities, but yet they don't think about, if you're spending $150, $200 a week for your family of 5, really here you're actually only bringing home about $180 worth of food. You just paid $20 to the government to eat. And, most moms, most dads, they can stretch that $20, That could get them another day's worth of food, 2 days worth of food, for their whole family. And I just don't think there's a defendable argument to say you have to pay money on food, pay sales tax for food.
Oh, I agree. I mean, back when I was single before I got married and had kids, my food bill was about $40 a month.
Yeah.
And that was because I basically lived off of ramen noodles and tuna.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, I didn't have nothing to worry about it. If I wanted to go out to eat, I could, but other than that, I went home and ate ramen noodles and chips and stuff. But my food bill was about $40. Now, what's the food bill? About with I know we got 4 kids. I know how to count that high, at least. About $400 a month. About $400, $500 a month.
Yeah, that's about what we're at too. And I just got 3.
And they're just little bitty kids. Wait until they get. I got one that's a teenager, and she don't eat that much, thank God. But the other, she don't eat that much, but I think that's just because of what she is. But the boys, on the other hand, they will. I'm gonna have to say a little secret here. We literally had to lock our icebox with a padlock because when we go to bed at night, the little bitty ones, from the 9-year-old down to the 2-year-old, will get into the refrigerator, and we'll wake up the next morning and be missing a pound of cheese. They would break open they'll break open the eggs. Our 5-year-old, who's turning 5 this month, he loves to when our little one was just a little baby and was on formula, he would get in the cabinets and take the formula out and just eat it by the handful. I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
Oh gosh.
I mean,
so
we had
expensive.
to. Yeah, so we ended up having to, just so that way food will last all month long.
Mm-hmm.
We had to lock up stuff, and people go, well, you shouldn't have to do that. Well, yeah, you're right, but they get up in the middle of the night and while we're asleep, and they just eat whatever's in there, and they don't gain any weight. I wish they had their metabolism, because they don't gain an ounce of weight. And I'm like, y'all eat everything up, but no weight gain.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we didn't. We didn't have a lot growing up, and my mom was like, we went to the store. I really believe like once a month. Really is how often we went, and she bought everything we needed that whole month. And you best not eat something that we need for later on in the month, because you just destroyed that meal or whatever. So, it was always, is it okay if I eat this? No. Okay. Well, all right, then, here's some leftovers, or, I've already, made whatever I was going to make with this, so you can have that as a snack, you know. So I get it, you know. You got stuff in there, it's got to stay in there until we need it.
Yeah. And we have a little one in there. He's 2. We actually call him Fat Fat. Well, his nickname is Fat Fat because every time you turn around, he's eating something. He's always eating. So I can tell right now that when them 3 boys get older, our food bill will probably go through the roof because it's already through the roof. The daughter, on the other hand, I guess she's trying to keep her girly figure, and she just don't eat.
Yeah.
When does she?
I mean,
in the middle
we
of the
got
night?
a 2-year-old. we have a 2-year-old too, and he's not so much like that. I mean, it comes and flows. Some days he eats like a bird, and other days he just keeps shoveling it down. But with our 2-year-old, I'm kind of scared, not really, but sort of, that he's going to be a vegetarian because you put meat and a vegetable down on the plate, and that dude is destroying the vegetables, you know. And he rarely really digs into meat, or even like breads and stuff. But you put some vegetables, some broccoli, some, you know, peas, corn, you know, any of those kind of things down there, he's all over it.
Yeah, well, as long as he does it out of just because that's what he likes the most, we have no problem with that. But if he goes on that one of them vegetarian rants and stuff, then we don't have problems. I mean, let's see. Our kids are extremely weird. My daughter, she loves fried liver, chicken liver.
Oh, wow.
She's loved it since she was 2 or 3. She's always ate it. Now my son, my 9-year-old son, he likes No, I'm talking about Travis Jr. He likes clams, oysters, what else? Sushi. He loves that stuff. He will eat that stuff all day long. Clams, oysters, sushi.
That's really cool.
Now our 5-year-old on the other end, he's the picky eater. He is. If he won't eat unless it's something he likes, and that changes. You know, he might like something today and tomorrow. Only one thing that we know that he likes all the time, and that is pepperoni pizza. That's it.
Yeah.
And now the little one, the 2-year-old, Fat, he eats anything and everything, even including dog food. If you leave it out, he's eating it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a 2-year-old. Yeah. They're all putting everything in their mouth.
Yeah. I know the Oklahoma Tomcats here. He's just listening in. He's probably rolling right now laughing because I see his phone number up there. Maybe I should dox him. No, I wouldn't do that to him. But he does need to come on real quick because it's about time for our commercial, and he's got to do our commercial. He does the voice of our commercial for the first one. But if he doesn't, then he can just do it on the next 2 segments. But yeah, I agree that the food costs are way up, but we get that, you know, we're paying more in taxes. Well, even with the tax cut, we're getting hit now because of tariffs.
Yep.
And tariffs is just another tax.
Sure is.
So, but they're giving billions of dollars to the farmers to compensate. Well, there's still taxes for it.
Yep.
So there's a tax there.
They're taxing us both with tariffs, and then they're taxing us to give the money to the farmers.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Oklahoma's taxing me, and I don't even live up there, but yet they won't even fix their roads. I mean, have you drove up to U.S. Highway 287 between Texas and Colorado? Have you ever been on that road?
I have not, but I have driven Highway 75, even the interstates for that matter. They're not the best. They're not the best at all.
I'm telling you, you can literally go through Texas, get to the Panhandle, right up there at the top on 287, and you go from Texas. You stop there in Texas, and you pick up you a bottle of milk. Okay, just go ahead and get you a gallon of milk, and you drive across that road 287 from Texas to Colorado. By the time you get to Colorado, you'll have butter.
Yeah, I believe it.
That's how bad that road is. So bad, I can only drive about 40 miles per hour on that road just to keep my truck from shaking apart.
My goodness.
And it's a 70 mile per hour road.
Yeah, it's not that much better in the eastern part of the state either, and that's definitely something that annoys me, and that's what a lot of people talk about too when I'm, going to door. They're like, we need to fix our roads. We need to fix our streets. Yeah, and some of the streets they're complaining about, the legislature really doesn't have much effect on because they're, a street there in Tulsa or something. But, I mean, I think, and I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't understand, like, if they're just not built that well, if, what the problem or the flaw is in that area, but it's definitely something we got to change and we got to fix.
Well, what I think it is that they've been misappropriating the funds for so long and putting it off and putting it off and putting it off and putting it off, and now it's gotten so bad it's all over, and they can't keep up with it, and now everybody's complaining about it, so they're just kind of brushing it over. I mean, everybody's complaining about it, and the thing is and when someone tells, and I love doing this because I'm in the Oklahoma Libertarian group, and I'm also in some other other Oklahoma groups, and I'll say, we need to abolish taxes in Oklahoma, and they're like, well, we need taxes for roads and highways, and I said, have you not drove your own road and highway?
Yeah, I've made definitely a similar argument. Yeah, it's funny when you talk about not having taxes and, who will build the roads? Well, hopefully somebody that's not doing it now because they ain't doing that good of a job,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, wow. But
to make that worse, to make that worse, we have a toll, it seems like, on every single road, and you're thinking, man, if I'm paying every time I use this road, shouldn't this road be a lot better? They don't get better.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if we needed government to build roads, and how come the government ain't building your roads?
Yeah, exactly.
What are they doing with that tax money that they're taking? I mean, that's what the fuel tax is for. Is supposed to be for the road usage, and you pay a road use tax when you get a registration on your. Oh, I don't know how it is up there. I know down here in Texas, they had started a road use tax, but we pay all these taxes. But rest assured, because we're fixing to go to break, your roads are bad, but Louisiana roads are worse.
I just drove through there for the first time, and I concur. They are not that much better, if at all.
Oh, I just went through Shreveport this morning and was beat up going through Shreveport. But with that, we're going to have to go to our first break, and we will pick this up on the other end.
Dave, what are you doing?
Just sending a gift to Dave 2037.
Who?
Me in the future. I save a little money from every paycheck as a gift to Dave 2037, so he can spend it on things like anti-gravity boots or a hologram Doberman, something cool like that. I think Dave 2037 deserves it. He worked hard. What are you getting Steve 2037?
I guess I was thinking Steve 2037 would just fend for himself.
Well, all right, but don't expect to be borrowing my anti-gravity boots.
You want to have money in your future? You got to start saving now. Putting some money from every paycheck into a savings account or contributing to your 401k can make a big difference later. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free ideas and easy ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
Hey, let's just hope Steve 2037 doesn't get his hands on a cold time machine, because he is going to come back here and knock some sense into you.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Hello, Libertarian friends and independent thinkers. This is Richard Castaldo for Congress. I want to thank Oklahoma Tomcat and the broadcast for letting me share a little bit about myself. I am running for Congress in Oklahoma's 2nd Congressional District, and I appreciate your consideration. First, let me tell you that I strongly believe in the non-aggression principle, and that philosophy guides everything I would do in politics and Congress, including my voting. And what it means is that I do not believe in or advocate the initiation of force as a means of achieving political or social goals. In other words, consent is everything. If there's no consent, then I'm not going to approve it. My platform includes the elimination of taxpayer funding for abortions, restore and protect the Second Amendment, protect farms and small businesses by eliminating needless regulations and property taxes, abolish federal income tax and propose the fair tax, abolish the IRS and Federal Reserve, protect cryptocurrencies from federal persecution, and restore constitutional ballot access through major reform and abolishment of the Federal Elections Commission, cut government spending and pass balanced budgets, end the war on drugs and the prosecution of victimless crimes, deschedule cannabis completely, maintain and strengthen a strong military, and prioritize our veterans, end global interventionism and unconstitutional wars, eliminate federal restrictions on individual charity, privatize marriage and adult consensual relationships, abolish the Department of Education and privatize Head Start through kindergarten, defend Native American lands from federal interference, protect and reinforce all parental rights, remove government sponsorship of LGBTQ discrimination and all racism, especially involving law enforcement and federal courts, restore religious and atheist liberty on public property and for businesses, deregulate religious organizations and churches. I think it's so important that we send someone to Congress this year who believes in individual liberty and the Constitution. Just to tell you a little bit more about myself, I was born in Tulsa, Oklahoma in December of 1981 and grew up in Grove in the Grand Lake region. I graduated from Grove Public High School in 2000 and Oklahoma Wesleyan University in 2010. I have traveled to several countries and across the U.S. in ministry, both as a worship leader and a missionary. I've worked in retail and customer service for years, including as a store manager for a local Radio Shack. I'm now a husband and dad, a street pastor with Grand Lake Life, and a political activist dedicated to serving people wherever I see the opportunity. I'm running to represent our Congressional District 2 of Oklahoma in the U.S. House of Representatives because I want to remind Washington, D.C. that your life matters. I am not a politician. I would have no strings attached. I would be a fiercely independent voice for you, the people. I have the principles and courage to stand up against the establishment of both the Democrats and Republicans. I'll work tirelessly to restore your individual freedoms to live, to love, and to worship, or not to worship, the way you choose. As a father of 2 toddlers and native Oklahoman, I am concerned about our future as a society. We are all being crushed by the aggression of government, and it continues to damage our educational opportunities, our criminal justice system, our economy, our health care, the daily living of everyday people. As a proud member of the Libertarian Party of Oklahoma, I believe in a constitutional government that values individual liberty. The other political parties are consistently arguing about which laws they want to burden you with, but that's not the Libertarians. We want limited government and self-responsibility. We want to get rid of over-regulation and too many laws, because that is how freedom thrives. I believe in a federal government that is restrained by the Constitution. I believe in restoring and protecting your full Bill of Rights, from the Second Amendment to the First Amendment to the Fourth Amendment, your rights to privacy. I believe in the power of capitalism. The free markets provide the best opportunity for all of society to succeed. My votes will be made public, and I will be transparent about every decision. My Republican and Democratic opponents, Mark Wayne Mullen and Jason Nichols, will be owned by their political establishments, by the swamp and the lobbyists. But I will not be. Again, I will be fiercely independent. If you are tired of the corruption, if you are tired of the power struggle between Republicans and Democrat politicians who think their lives matter more, and if you're ready for constitutional rights to be restored, please send me to Congress. I humbly ask for your support and your vote on November 6, 2018, and in your early voting. I hope that you will make sure that your voice is heard, and that you will share with your friends and family about Castaldo for Congress. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Again, this is Richard Castaldo, and I approve this message. God bless.
Miss Producer is also known as Miss Giggles. You are listening to Political TNT on the Liberty National Network.
Welcome back to Political TNT. I'm Travis, your host. Our other host, hopefully he shows up, and we still have Mr. Miller on with us today. I think he'll be coming around pretty soon, but welcome back, and like I said, we have Mr. Miller. Mr. Miller, will you please tell us how, to start off this segment with, could you please tell us how our listeners can find you, because we want to put that at the end of the show as well, but find you and donate to you, and or if they want to volunteer to knock on doors, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, honestly, the best way is through social media. Contact me on Facebook or Twitter. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Lee4Liberty, and you can find me on Twitter at Lee4Liberty OK. And you could just send me an email too. You can send me an email at Lee4Liberty2018@gmail.com. And I'll tell you right now, I'm knocking doors every single weekend, and pretty much any evening between now and Election Day. So whatever your availability is, whatever you can do, I can fit you in. You can come help me out. That's not a problem at all. So if they can just, drop me a line on my email or contact me through social media, and we can get them hooked up.
Yeah, just don't protest out in front of his house. How's that?
yeah, that'd be nice.
No, well, unless you're wanting him to, you can protest out there unless you're, if you want him to actually make his election and change things, then yeah, I mean, free publicity is free publicity.
Yeah, I mean, it might work to my advantage. I think Trump for sure proved that all publicity is good publicity. So, even the bad stuff can turn it around for you.
Yeah, well, maybe they'll pick it out in front of your house and say, walk circles, elect Lee Miller, get rid of the drain the swamp for real. Yeah. No, I mean I've said it before. I think the drain to the swamp is in Oklahoma City, not Washington D.C. I think that's in state capitals all across the country. We need to drain those swamps, and then it'll trickle up for sure. They'll get it. That's one thing about electing a libertarian. Really,
anywhere across the country is because it signals to the other parties that people are done with what's been going on. You know, if you elect a libertarian somewhere, probably the Republican Party will once again become a party of limited government. You know, they're gonna because they want to be in power. That's where I always start with. They like their job, they want to stay there, and they're going to do what they have to do to be elected. You know, that's why. Well, that's why, frankly, that's why abortion is still where we are with that. Because if they outlawed abortion, then who would vote for the Republican Party? You know, here in Oklahoma, the Republicans passed constitutional carry, but then the governor didn't sign it. So if they had passed constitutional carry, why would we want to vote for them? You know, they've already done their job. So I think there's a lot at play there.
Yeah, there's a lot at play everywhere. I mean, like on the last show I talked about, you know, you mentioned abortion. I said, how many times has the Democrats been in full power on the federal level? Because I don't believe in constitutional. I mean, I don't believe in judicial law. I believe that the Supreme Court is there to make a judgment on a law, and then it either has to be killed. The law either stays or it's killed, and then it has to go back up to the legislator to be redone. Well, Democrats have been in control of both the House, the Senate, and the presidency, and not one time have any of them made it, you know, law on abortion, made it where it's permanent. Instead, they just keep going by Roe v. Wade. The Democrats could have many times made it where it's actually a legislative law. They could have submitted for a constitutional amendment. They could have. There's a bunch of things. Republic could do things as well, but nobody does anything because, like you said earlier, it's a political football. The Democrats say, well, if you vote them, they don't get rid of Roe v. Wade. Republicans come back, oh, well, if you vote for them, they'll keep funding. They're funding abortion and they're doing this. Well, which I disagree with that. I shouldn't have to pay for somebody else's mistakes. That's their thing. That's my money. I shouldn't have to pay for it, and I shouldn't have to pay for a lot of things. But that's a political football. Nobody wants to tie it down in real legislation. They just let it kick it back and forth, and then just get their bases riled up on it. And that's the same way with gun control. You know, the Second Amendment is real clear in the federal Constitution, but they use it as a political football to kick it around. You know. Democrats could have very easily passed stricter gun control laws, and Republicans can come back and lessen those strict gun control laws. It's just a political football back and forth. It's just to get the base riled up, and as usual, the people fall for it. I mean, Obama had done plenty of things during his time in office that were directly against the Second Amendment, and a lot of people forgot about that. You know, he did have he couldn't pass anything legislatively because of the Republican House, but he could have the first 2 years of his presidency. They never did.
Nope.
But so what does he do when the Republicans are in control? He uses it against them. Well, they don't want to do this. They don't want to do that. You know, they don't want to pass this law. They don't want to do this. So I'm going to do this executive order, and then the banks start. Then he sends a memo to the banks, and so they start canceling gun shops' bank accounts.
Yeah.
not doing business with them anymore because they sell guns.
Yeah, I mean that's the play, right? Like they're not going to let any bill out there that's going to harm them being in power. You know, they're not going to put anything out there that's going to limit their chances of being reelected. So if we go out there and we tell the base, hey, let's, go out there and stand up for women's rights and her right to choose, or the other side, let's go out there and defend, the unborn. Neither side's going to do anything about it because then they can't say that anymore. They can't use that to rile up people to, in some ways instill that fear that they'll, oh no, they're going to come and do this, that, or the other. And, I'll tell you, I guess I define myself as pro-life. I think that's the easiest way to kind of get it across to people. And I'm also a Christian, and so I think the best play for the pro-life movement at this point is not the political one. I don't think that game will ever get won. But I think we need to shift from a political movement into a cultural movement, As a Christian, we have to decide, is that pregnant teenager welcome in our youth group? Are we going to tell them, you know what, you can have that baby and you can be successful. You can have that baby and you can graduate, and I'm going to make sure you do it. I'm going to be here to take care of the baby while you're at school. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And until we start putting, essentially our money where our mouth is, I don't think anyone cares about the pro-life movement. I don't think anyone, really sees a good thing about it, because that's not what the other side's saying. The other side's saying you're going to fail if you have that kid. You're going to always be poor if you have that kid. You're going to always be this, that, or the other. But if as a pro-life movement, we get up there and say, you can be successful and you can have that baby. You can do this and, graduate. And, you're awesome. And I'm going to help you whatever chance I can get. That's, Roe v. Wade isn't the first time abortion came up. It was a good 50, 70-year process to get up to Roe v. Wade. And if we're ever going to, do anything on the other side, it's going to be a 50, 75-year process.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because I've been saying that for a while. I'm heavily pro-life. I believe that abortion is murder. But I don't think we can win this, like you said, on the political side. I think it needs to be won through education. Educate people more about it, and then get out of their way, and hopefully they make the right decision. I'm not here to, I have my family that I got to take care of. Okay, that is where my responsibility is. My wife, my kids, myself. That's my responsibility. Now, what another person does in their life, it's not my responsibility. I can educate them. I can tell them what I disagree with. I'm socially conservative in my personal life, and basically politically liberal in my political life, because I don't care what you do. I don't want to pay for it, and I don't want to know about it.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah.
I don't want to pay for it. I don't want to know about it. I believe in individual responsibility. The taxes shouldn't be going to fund abortion, and I believe abortion would one thing if they took the tax monies going away from abortion, abortion rate would probably drop because no one could afford it. I mean, because we're subsidizing. We're paying for it. So therefore, it's cheaper for people to be able to go do it because we're paying for it. Sometimes it's even free. So, so if we just quit funding it all together, and you have to pay for your own choices, you have to pay for your own decisions. You have to be responsible for them. We'd probably see a lot more people doing a lot less stupid stuff. I mean, why should I have to pay for a guy jumping out of an airplane? I bet he wouldn't jump out if he had to pay for it himself if he only hit the ground.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree with you, and I'm glad you said that because I think a lot of the ground that we could win is through education. Because one of our founding fathers said our Constitution was written for the religious and moral people. So everything should be done.
If you define yourself as pro-life and a libertarian, that is the only solution. It's not to use the force of government to end abortions, but it's to go outside of government and to make it honestly more attractive to have the baby than it is to not. And that's the libertarian solution. You're coming from a pro-life perspective. It's to go outside of the government, and it's to work with people one-on-one, to have that relationship with them, and to really partner with them and say, no, you can do it. I think also, when we talk about libertarianism, it's always about personal responsibility. But before you get to personal responsibility, you have to believe you actually can do it. And I believe that there are a vast number of people in our society who believe they can't do it. They believe they can't be responsible for themselves. They believe they can't, go it alone to have the individual freedom. They need somebody there to tell them what to do and how to do it and when to do it. But until we partner with them and say, hey, look, you can do this. You can do this on your own. I'm going to help you when you need it, but you can do this, and you don't need somebody else telling you what to do and when to do it and how to do it. But until we get that message across, I don't think many people are going to be interested in libertarianism, until they actually believe I can do it on my own. I can be responsible for myself.
Yeah, and while we're sitting here talking about abortion and stuff like that, there's women now that will be listening to the show and say, "Well, you don't have no say in it until you can pop a baby out of you." And I'm
yeah. Yeah. Well,
you want to say something about it?
No, I mean, yeah, I'll say something about it because
No, I was asking my wife.
Oh. Well, no, I was just saying, I got a wife, I got a mom, I got a sister, I got daughters. I heard a comedian just the other day saying, genetically, females run in my family. And so I am standing up for those people when I say you can do it. You can have the baby and be successful because the other side isn't. They talk about women's rights. They talk about empowering them. But are they? That's my question.
Well, speaking of women's rights, we know they don't stand up for them because look what they just did to Christine Ford. I mean, they weren't standing up for her. That was all set up. I have a problem with Kavanaugh winning the confirmation because of his stance on the Fourth Amendment. Okay, there is legit reasons that we can stand against Kavanaugh. And I agree with those legit reasons. But the problem we have now, and this is one of the things I brought up on the last one, now as a candidate, you have to worry when you're running for political office, you have to worry that if you become a threat to the establishment, okay, whether Republican or Democrat, you become a threat to them, they will just dig something up that's not even true and put it on you.
Well, I mean, if you want to go down that trail, they could probably just put something on your computer that isn't supposed to be there. I mean, if you want to kind of go that direction, that they're going to find something or dig something or, create something that isn't true, that's something that they can probably do as well. But regarding the Kavanaugh thing, I think, I'll be honest, I didn't have this original idea, but I don't know who I read it from. I'm sure it was some kind of celebritarian that's on my Facebook. But, I believe if someone makes that allegation, we should take it seriously. I believe we should investigate it and find out, the truth and hold people accountable for their actions. But I think we also have to keep that in perspective of, in America, you're innocent until proven guilty. For better or worse, that's how our system works. And I don't think those two statements are, exclusive of each other. You can believe that someone's innocent until proven guilty, and you can say, let's investigate this and make sure it's, false or true.
Yeah. Have you heard?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, let me play it real quick and let you hear it. Hold on.
Self-fulfilling prophecy. You demonize, and then we call it the wrap-up smear. If you want to talk politics, you call it the wrap-up smear. You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest, and then you merchandise it. And then you write it, and they'll say, see, it's reported in the press that this, and this, so they have that validation that the press reported the smear, and then it's called the wrap-up smear. Now I'm going to merchandise the press's report on the smear that we made. And it's a tactic, and it's self-evident. But I think I'm worth the trouble.
Yeah, that's really not surprising at all.
Yeah, and for any of the listeners, that is Nancy Pelosi giving a speech at the minority convention, and she was actually referring to the Republicans in that. But I mean, what is the Rules for Radicals says? Accuse your opponent for the very things that you do yourself.
Yeah.
And then you listen to that right there. She explains it. I mean, I'd never heard of the wrap-up smear until just now.
Yeah. I heard someone else say, well, let's open up an investigation on everyone in Congress, and see what comes out of their past too,
Yeah, I agree with that.
At some point, I don't know, and maybe this is just the Christian inside of me, I don't know, but I mean, at some point, there's got to be redemption. There's got to be, that was my past. I've changed it around. I'm a new person now, and I don't know if our current political climate's really ready for that. It seems to me that really both sides, I think, are looking for these perfect people, to be in positions of power, and perfect people don't exist.
Yeah.
For me, I'm personally getting kind of tired of it. Like, everyone's done something bad. I guess there's varying degrees to that for some people, but none of us are perfect. We've all messed up something, and surely there's a point where we can recognize that and say, hey, that was me. I was dumb.
Yeah, and as you're saying that, there's only one perfect, and biblically speaking, there's one that's going to portray himself as perfect. So we're setting ourselves up for something that could happen that nobody really wants to happen until it's done and over with, and you can't stop it. And that would be the Antichrist. And that could very well happen. They're setting themselves up to find the one leader that they can, and I can see it. Our national debt's getting out of control. And it's just getting real bad. But with that, we're fixing to have to go to our second break, and we'll pick this up on the other end.
The Liberty National Network. Where do you want to go to lunch?
I'm having a stroke.
Did you hear what I said?
I'm having a stroke.
Why aren't you answering me?
I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear. Look for FAST. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911 immediately. Know the sudden signs. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
You may have doubts about healthcare sharing. I know we did. We studied literature about Samaritan Ministries, but we feared that it was just too risky. Instead, as our health insurance premiums went up each year, we would increase our deductible to reduce the premium. And then the inevitable happened. We had to use our insurance. We had a medical need that included tests, doctor visits, and even outpatient surgery treatment that totaled over $7,000, and it was all out of pocket. It took us 3 years to pay off, even after several of our healthcare providers reduced their charges. And we finally took a leap of faith and joined Samaritan.
Each month, we get to give to an actual person with a medical need. We pray for them and put them in the hands of the Lord for physical, emotional, and financial strength and healing. There's no way to fully express that pleasure and joy. During the first year we were members, we had a medical need, and it was all provided for. And the strength, peace, and healing from prayer.
Last year, our son was injured on a mission trip, 1,200 miles from home. And the bills for the emergency room, doctors, stitches, and prescriptions totaled $5,300. But every last cent was provided for. In fact, last year we had 2 more needs, and each time our Samaritan family came through.
I worked in healthcare for 10 years, from front desk through billing. I would recommend Samaritan instead of any insurance product out there. Insurance has no assurances. In fact, it seems everything is written in such a way that there will be no assurance at your time of need. We just wish that we had trusted in God's provision sooner.
It is such a blessing to come alongside our brothers and sisters in Christ and share in each other's healthcare burdens. And there's such a peace and joy knowing that God is answering our prayers, bringing healing and providing for our needs.
Hi, I'm Devin, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is President of Hillsdale College, Dr. Larry Arnn, on what the founders meant by general welfare.
The great preamble of our Constitution states that the purpose of the document is in part to promote the general welfare. Contrary to the modern understanding of that term, the founders understood welfare to mean public good or happiness. This was understood in accordance with the principles of the Declaration of Independence. Such happiness is contingent on securing to each citizen his natural rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Because this requires the government be limited, the powers of the federal government were enumerated, and local matters were reserved to state authority. This was precisely intended to secure these inalienable rights and in turn promote the general welfare.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To receive a free pocket Constitution and Declaration, go to constitutionminute.com. On what the founders meant by general welfare.
The Liberty National Network.
Travis Pope may sound like a big bad gorilla, but he is really a soft cuddly teddy bear. You are listening to Political TNT on the Liberty National Network. This is a pre-recorded show and therefore we are unable to take phone calls into the show. But please feel free to comment about the show wherever you see this show posted.
I do think our commercials are getting longer and longer and longer. But welcome back to the show. You're listening in on Political TNT, and we just suffered through almost 6 minutes of commercials. We do have someone that's finally decided to join us after being AWOL.
About time.
I'll tell you something. If it can go wrong, it's going wrong today. I'm just so frustrated right now. But I made it on. And then of course I have a daughter with me, and she had to go bathroom like 5,000 times, during the show. She's holding up 2 fingers for some reason.
Well, quit giving her coffee to drink. No more coffee, Abby.
That's the Oklahoma. That's the Oklahoma way. You got to give right when they're born. You got to give them coffee. Well, I want to start out by saying thanks for being on the show. For joining us on the show, and both of you guys are saviors on making it so that the show can start on time.
Yeah, I mean, if we were waiting on you, we would have been lost. But Mr. Miller, back to what we were talking about before we had to go to break.
Yeah.
The left is getting more and more violent and out of control. I mean, shortly after that video came out of Nancy Pelosi a couple of years ago, Hillary Clinton comes out and she gives her speech about basically in her. I'm not going to report. I'm just going to paraphrase what she says. You give us power, or we're going to get more violent. That's basically what she was saying in her speech. And then ex-Attorney General Eric Holder come out, I think it was today, that I've been listening to his speeches all day long, where he's calling for the same thing, more violence, just to get power. They're calling for more violence. And I made a comment on the last show. I said, does the liberal left really want more violence? Do they want to go into a civil war? I said, they don't like guns. I mean, most of them don't even like guns. And I said, what are they going to do? Throw Skittles at us? They can't even figure out which bathroom to use, much less use a gun the right way. They'll shoot their own selves in the foot. But that's where we're at now today. Are they really wanting a civil war? I mean, is this what they want?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I guess mind-boggling is the right word, to use, because I just, this isn't the America that I grew up with, This isn't the America that, the most effective protests are nonviolent, protests. Like, obviously I wasn't there, but, documentaries from the 60s, like, showing people sitting in on counters, sitting in at restaurants across the South. Like, it's the nonviolent protests that are the most effective. You gain more friends when you do that. And so, like, these calls for violence or, mobs and that sort of thing, like, it's just, it's mind-boggling to me, honestly, and it's, I think, I honestly don't know if he was referring to these things or not, but I heard Rand Paul, the clip of him talking, and, he said it's it's that 1 in 1,000 people that are just out there enough that's really going to make this bad, that hears people like that, calling for violence to bring about change. And it's going to be that 1 in 1,000 that's going to do something that's going to be really, really sad.
Yeah, it's going to be that one that's going to set it all off. And I mean, we don't know when it's going to happen. It's just going to be one that's going to set it off. I mean, Antifa's getting crazy out there. They're starting to get more amped up. I do wish they would go protest the Sturgis up there one year. I bet that Antifa stuff will stop as soon as they went to Sturgis. That would be a pay-per-view channel we would all want to watch. Is that Sturgis biker rally?
Yeah.
And Antifa.
Yeah, that would be a powder keg, I think. What they call it.
But we're getting more and more. They're getting more and more brave. They're sending more. I mean, it was a months ago, but Rand Paul's neighbor broke Rand Paul's ribs.
Yeah.
His wife now has to sleep with a gun under her pillow, a loaded gun under her pillow. All I can say there, Rand Paul, is hope she doesn't have a nightmare and start sleepwalking. And then now you have poison being sent to the Pentagon, and you have poison being sent to Ted Cruz. They're getting more brave in what they're doing. They don't care if they're getting caught.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people have been sending bad stuff in the mail for a long time, so that's not really anything new. But, and I have to imagine that, it's, and I don't want to say it's common, but I'm sure there's, that 1 in 1,000 out there that's, sending stuff to senators and representatives that, isn't safe. And so, I don't know. That's that whole political football, that we talked about before. It gets people riled up and stuff. So I feel like there's probably some other threats and stuff being made consistently out there, but because they've made those, because Hillary Clinton and the left have made those kind of remarks, then okay, we're going to rebut with, well, they are doing stuff, so you have to come out and vote in the midterm. That's the way I see that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think I'm having a problem with the fact that it looks like, to me, Republicans are using all this because I'm hearing them more and more, vote for us, look at what they're doing, and it's like you said, it is a political football. Both sides are playing it, and what I'm trying to do is get people to see, look at both of them, look at what they both do. Look at both have had power in the House, and the same thing is being done year after year after year. I'm like, when are you guys going to get tired of this?
Yeah, I've said, at a forum I was at, I said, they're two sides of the same coin. They're both the coin of tyranny, and it's just two sides of the same coin. It's what do you want to give up in this area, and what do you want to gain in that area? That's what the two parties are. They are the same thing. They are doing the same thing, and I don't see any difference between the two of them. They both get the House, the Senate, and the presidency, and they don't do anything that they say they're going to do.
No. In fact, the meme I post, which shows a snake with two heads, and one is a Republican, one's a Democrat. They're the same snake. Hey, but on more local thing here. I do have some questions for you.
Yeah.
One of the things I want to ask you, and I'm sure by now you've been asked these questions a lot, but there may be people who's listening who haven't heard them. And what is your the biggest issues in Oklahoma that you want to tackle when elected?
That's a good question. I think the things that matter to me the most is education and criminal justice reform. I think those are the main two areas where we need to focus on. And frankly, in the last week, I really think it's more criminal justice reform that has to be at our forefront, because I think a lot of issues that can happen with education stems from all of that. I'm a licensed mental health professional here in the state, and I work currently at a DHS group home. And so I see, every kid that I talk to every week, they're in DHS custody. And to hear the stories of how they got there, sometimes they are horrific. I'll be frank. Like, bad things were being done that should never happen to anyone, let alone a child. But there are guys that wind up there that they're there because of a plant. That's the cold hard truth of it. Oklahoma gained the distinction to be the number one place in the world where we incarcerate people, both men and women.
Yep.
We're now number one in both. And I see that to be if many families are single parent families, being the mom, and then many of those are being arrested and put into jail, the odds of a kid not repeating that same cycle once a parent has went to jail is very slim, that they won't repeat that same thing. And
right.
How that plays into education. If mom's not there, I'm worried about where mom is. Am I ever going to see mom again? Do you think they're really going to, do that well in school? We know that is true as well. Like, real educational gains are made when kids feel safe. They feel like, their needs are going to be taken care of. And that's when their brain works at school so they can take in all the information they need to. And, I'm still formulating a lot of thoughts, I'm going to be honest. But I think that's the big deal in Oklahoma. If I told you that the reading proficiency of let me put it this way. If I told you that the prison establishment looks at the reading scores of third graders to determine how many prisons they need in 10 years, that would be a false statement, okay? But
yeah,
if you are less than proficient in reading in third grade, you are 4 times more likely to drop out of high school. And depending on the color of your skin and how much money mom and dad makes, you can go up to 11 times more likely to drop out of high school. The majority of people in prison, like 80 or 90%, are high school dropouts. So is it a coincidence that the state with the number one incarceration rate in the world also has a mandatory third grade reading test? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm so glad to hear that every libertarian candidate that we have interviewed has brought up criminal justice reform. I'm so glad of that because it ties right into some posted by the Cato Institute. They rated the free states. Sadly, Oklahoma has dropped in the ratings. luckily we're not the worst state. Actually we're number 19 in the ratings. There, one being the most freest, which Florida beat us. But and one of the things that in fact we dropped 6 spaces, and that's sad that that's happening. In Oklahoma, where most people I speak to in Oklahoma, they're about government getting out of their life. But yet we're why are we in this predicament? I blame a lot of it, on voters not knowing any better, and also on the fact that we didn't have a choice in the past, but now we do. So there's no excuse, people. But one of the things that caused us to, be number 19 instead of number 1 is the fact that we are quick to incarcerate people. In fact, in the town next to where I live, Okemah, almost every single person has been in jail.
Yeah.
And that is a very poor town. I mean, everybody is on government assistance in that town. It's a very sad thing. I'm glad to hear every libertarian bringing that up as top of their list.
Yeah, I mean, I think it trickles down from how much money we're spending on our prisons. It goes into the social effects of having someone in jail in your family. I mean, really, I don't even think we understand just how much of an effect this is having on our state. The way that this finds itself into into our lives is unreal to me. I just got done at a mental health conference, and I mean, some of the things that people talked about, it was like, well, this is the thing. This is our one issue, I'm passionate about education too. I considered being a teacher in college before I went on this path in my life. But my wife's a former teacher. She decided to stay home with her little kiddo. Her 2 sisters are teachers, and like the stories that they tell of, I'm just going to say, disrespect that they have, not from kids, not from parents, but just the system that is supposed to be on their side. Like they don't treat them as professionals. As a licensed mental health professional, no one in Oklahoma City tells me what to do in therapy. No one there tells me when to do it. No one there tells me how to do it. They just say, okay, you're a therapist. Here's your piece of paper. Go be a therapist. And we give our teachers a piece of paper. We say, hey, you're certified to teach, but this is what you got to teach, and this is how you're going to teach it, and this is when you're going to teach it. And it's pay aside from all of that. It is unreal, the stories that I hear, at Thanksgiving and family functions. It is it's ridiculous.
Yeah, that always confuses me because we have the same problem here in the trucking industry. They call us professional drivers. So we do relate a lot to that. They give you, the government says, okay, you must be certified to do this, to teach. Congratulations, he just paid so much money into going to college to get this certificate. Now we're going to tell you what to teach. It makes no sense to me. And I also think that, and you let me know how you feel about this, but shouldn't it be more on the local community to, say how their schools are run rather than a big bureaucracy, going as high as the federal government and then even the state government, I mean, who knows their kids more, the parents or the government, as far as how the education should be?
Yeah, I think I fall down on kind of I call it a triad of teacher, parent, student. You know, that's who should be making the decisions on that child's education. You know, I'm a libertarian, obviously, so I value individual rights more than I do state rights and more than I do federal rights. And so even a local school board kind of irks me the wrong way. But if we empowered, if we said, Miss Smith, you're licensed to teach 5th grade math, then Miss Smith should know everything about teaching 5th grade math. So if Bobby has a problem with 5th grade math, then Miss Smith should be able to do it. And mom and dad can say, ooh, you know what? Last year the teacher did something like that, and it didn't really work well. And Miss Smith will say, oh, okay, so we should do this. And then Bobby's like, hey, this works really well. Because kids like to achieve. They like to succeed.
Right.
We all do. And so when you have those three people making the decision on whatever, that's when that's when real educational gains are going to be made. And it's not with even a local school board saying this is how it should be run. But, you know, we have to decide in Oklahoma, do we trust our teachers or not?
Right.
You know, if we trust our teachers,
and I like that,
then let's pay them a decent salary and let them do their job, and stop having some kind of a mega school board in Oklahoma City.
I don't trust teachers anyways.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean that's okay. That's okay. I respect that too. But that's really, you know, to me, that's the issue of public schools. That's and also. Let me say this, like,
you know,
yeah,
where you go to school shouldn't be dictated by where you live.
Right.
You know, like if it's a public school, then it should be a public school. You know, unless we're you know thinking, oh, these kids are better than those kids. You know,
me and the teacher had it out. Me and the teacher had it out in high school. She caught me sleeping, which that's fine. You caught me sleeping. She said, on my time, you do my work. On your time, you do whatever you want. I looked at her and said, don't you ever send homework again.
Yeah.
And I never did homework from that day forward.
Yeah.
We're getting ready to go on break, so let me plug in one of our sponsors. And unfortunately, majority of Americans and probably around the world do not eat properly. And one of the things that, especially for kids, that's hard to get to eat is fruits, vegetables. So, and actually, lots of adults don't eat enough vegetables. Vegetables are very, very hard to get people to eat a lot of. And therefore, you know, one of the easiest ways to get the fruits and vegetables we need is in powder form. And I know a lot of people have seen these powdered super vegetables, super fruits on the shelves and stuff like that in your store. But if you turn them cans around and look at what's in them, you will find artificial sweeteners. And that's not so good either. I mean, you don't want sugar in there, but you also want to try to avoid the artificial sweeteners, stuff that's made in science labs and stuff like that. Well, if you go to livepure.com/PTAT, that's Papa Tango, Alpha Tango, and look up the one of their products called Greens, and you read that label, what you will find is stevia. Stevia is a whole lot healthier for you. It is also good for diabetics. I am a diabetic, and I'm able to have it, because it doesn't raise your glucose level. And also, stevia is 100% natural. It is a plant that is ground up and is a lot sweeter than sugar. So go to livepure.com/PTAT and check out all their products. I highly recommend the Greens. It's very good for you, and it is good. We will be back after these commercial breaks.
the Liberty National Network.
Last night we put on an epic light show.
Yeah, we did.
The crowd loved us. We love the crowd.
Wait, but there were only 4 people out there.
Yeah, but did you see their 4 faces? All 8 of their eyes lit up brighter than ours. And we're fireflies.
Yeah, we are.
Hey, that one girl, she looked like she'd never seen glow-in-the-dark like this before, and we invented glow-in-the-dark.
Yeah, we invented it.
And we're going to be out here every night rocking out our light show at a forest near you.
Woohoo!
So come check us out.
Check us out.
And bring your kid, all ages show. Oh, but don't bring any of those glass jars, because they make us kind of nervous.
Yeah, and I'm super claustrophobic.
Whether you're rocking their world or they're rocking yours, some memories never fade. Come alive with the forest. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you and discover other cool things to do when you go, like fishing, biking, or even camping. Visit discovertheforest.org.
See you later!
Yeah, see you soon.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
I'm a golfer and an avid golf fan. Jack Nicklaus, Lee Trevino, Gary Player, Johnny Miller, and Tom Watson were golfers from the 60s and 70s who greatly inspired me, but the one I admired most was Arnold Palmer. Palmer was an aggressive, go-for-broke golfer. His popularity produced a legion of fans known as Arnie's Army. They held Palmer in such high regard that they named him the King. This honor was bestowed not only because of Palmer's prowess on the golf course, but, and I would add more importantly, because of his kindness and generosity toward others. Throughout his life, Arnold Palmer not only gave full effort to his sport, he gave generously of himself to the people who crossed his path. It didn't matter how busy or tired he was. It didn't matter how famous he became or who the person was in front of him. He was known to always be kind and generous. Palmer's example reminds us that no matter who we are, the most precious gift we can give is our time and our attention. In other words, ourselves. We share the present of our presence as we follow the ultimate gift giver, Jesus Christ. What is the greatest gift Jesus gives us? Himself. In John 6, he told his disciples, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never go hungry, and whoever believes in me will never be thirsty. Sadly, when Arnold Palmer passed in 2016, we lost his loving presence. Like Palmer, Jesus experienced death, but 3 days later, he rose from the grave. Through his resurrection, we have an inexhaustible supply of the bread of life. Even now, Jesus is seated at the Father's right hand. He continues to share his love and life with us. One way we remind ourselves of his generous sacrifice for us is through communion. At the table, we receive the bread of life and the fruit of the vine. We remember that Jesus sustains us and satisfies our thirsty souls. And there's more. Jesus also comes to us by the Spirit day in and day out. Do we sense his presence and rejoice in it as we pray and study his word? Do we hear his voice and follow it as we walk and talk with him throughout the day? My prayer is that we will. This is Greg Williams, speaking of life.
Hi, I'm Stephen, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is President of Hillsdale College, Dr. Larry Arnn, on the enduring importance of federalism.
Many in Washington today have grown so accustomed to centralized bureaucracy that they think of federalism as old-fashioned, kind of like fife and drum music. Those who wrote the Constitution saw federalism as a vital principle of free government in a large republic. The division of power between the federal government, state governments, and local governments would serve as an important protection against tyranny. The founders also understood that while the federal government is essential for national matters like foreign policy and defense, governments closer to the people were far better suited to oversee local matters. As we see in the problems that result from centralized bureaucracy today, there's nothing out of date about the founders' argument for federalism.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To receive a free pocket constitution and declaration, go to constitutionminute.com.
The Oklahoma Tomcat thinks he is a big bad cat, but he is really as harmless as a kitten. You are listening to the Political TNT on the Liberty National Network. This is a pre-recorded show, so we are unable to accept phone calls into the studio. But please feel free to comment on the show wherever you see this show posted.
And I am not harmless as a kitten.
Yeah, you are. Welcome back to the show. We have Oklahoma Tomcat finally with us, and Lee Miller, the great and wonderful Lee Miller. I'm liking a lot of stuff he's talking about. So that's a lot of good stuff right here. And we're on our last 30 seconds. I tell you what, every time we have guests come on or me and him do the show, we're like, man, sometimes there's just not enough time going on in these shows for us to continue because we have too much fun on these shows, really. I think we do. Now we just need some status to call in so that way we can kick them around a little bit, violate the nap.
Well, we need to get back to the live shows again so we can get some. Lee Miller, one of the big issues that's been going on, and I've seen the petition going around, and I think it's going to be on, I may be wrong, I know they tried getting it on the November ballot, but that is to just go ahead and legalize marijuana. Exactly. I mean, I see what the state is doing with the people in power now, what they're doing with the medical. They're making it a lot more complicated than it really needs to be. But what's your ideas about that and solution? What can we do to, get this going? Because, I mean, one of the things you mentioned, people are going to jail for a plant that doesn't harm anyone else, even if the person themselves is against the drugs, like I am. I'm okay with the medical, but personally, I would not, use it recreational. But it doesn't harm no one else.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's probably the key component to criminal justice reform is to legalize marijuana. At the very least, decriminalize it, and stop putting people in jail for a plant. I look at it in a lot of ways like alcohol. You can drink alcohol, you can drink too much alcohol, but as long as you don't put someone or their stuff, you're okay. And that's the way I look at really all illegal, not just marijuana. If that's what you want to do to your body, then that's your choice. As long as you're not hurting, someone else or their stuff, okay, go for it. When I was, I worked for a little bit in a drug and alcohol kind of treatment place, and I would be in this group, and there'd be some person there with, an alcohol issue, maybe multiple DUIs, but they're here, and then someone else is there because they had a plant, and I'm thinking to myself, really, this person didn't harm anybody. This person wasn't, putting anybody in harm's way. So why are they here, when this person here is going to get done and be able to go and use alcohol again? It might not be the best choice for them, because they're addicted to it, but they're not going to go to jail for going down to the liquor store and buying it, And so I'm all, I support it.
Yeah, I really like that you say all drugs. I mean, because really, I mean, unless you're harming someone else, which there's already laws against that. If you harm someone else, you're going to get punished for it. No, it doesn't matter if you're on drugs or non-drugs. So what they've really done is they're taking something and making. They're trying to outlaw anything that could cause someone to harm someone else.
Well, I think
the only thing that they're having problems with on marijuana, everybody makes it all difficult, and there's only one reason why they're making it all difficult. They make every law difficult. You name it, they make it difficult. And why is it? Because I'll say this.
Did we lose everyone?
I'm here.
Oh. Well, he's the stationary one. He shouldn't be disappearing on us. All right, I'm guessing that we lost Travis, which is not very good because he's also our producer for today. So hopefully we're still on the air. But one of the other things I want to bring up is marriage. I brought this up with William Castle because Caggle because he posted on his Facebook wall. On his Facebook, and he's getting married. So I'll bring it up with him. But I also want to ask you, what role, if anything, do you think the state should be taking when it comes to marriage?
Honestly, I don't think they should be involved at all. I know, I want to say 2014, maybe 2016, somewhere in there. There was a bill put out I think it was the House, and it made it all the way through. I think it died in committee in the Senate, and that was going to end marriage licenses in Oklahoma completely, no matter what type of couple. And I support that wholeheartedly. I've mentioned before I'm a Christian. I'm also a licensed minister, and I think the church really gave something up when it decided that we're going to let the state decide who can be married and who can't, which I think kind of goes back to segregation and preventing people of different colors. And preventing people of different colors from being able to be married, and so I don't see the point in it. I think it's kind of a waste of time and money and energy for pretty much everybody involved.
Yeah, and actually you're right, and I've brought that up to people before because I was one of the big pushers for getting rid of the marriage license in Oklahoma. And I bring that up to people, mostly Republicans, because they seem to really be holding on to that marriage license thing. But Democrats do too, because what they want to do is force everyone to recognize whatever they call marriage. And Republicans are pretty much, this is where it goes back to they're both the same snake, just on different sides. Because both of them do hate. But I get into a lot of debates over Republicans on this topic. I'd bring that up. I'd be like, do you realize what the origins of the marriage license was, don't you? And a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't realize that, it was based on discrimination. And to many degrees, it is still today, because it's, discrimination. In fact, hey, your lifestyle doesn't match mine. I want you to follow my lifestyle, And I think that's totally wrong, even for a Christian, because I'm a Christian too. In fact, that's one of the reasons why I'm a libertarian is because I believe, that God speaks to me and tells me what to do, not tells me to force other people to do, do it.
Yeah, I honestly hadn't thought of that necessarily, but I've definitely said before, Jesus didn't come to change the laws of Rome. He came to change the hearts of people, and that's if that's not libertarianism, I don't know what is, because that's really what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like I tell people all this, I don't know what the last part you heard was that government never gets involved unless they can make money out of it.
Yep.
Seatbelt laws. That's all that was, a money scam. weight restricted interstates. I'm not talking about back roads, country back roads. I'm talking about weight restricted interstates. Where you can't take an 84,000-pound vehicle down because it's against this federal law. All that is money. I mean,
honestly, I have seen signs like that, and I've wondered, well, what's that gonna do? What's that gonna? I don't know. I'm not a trucker. I'm not, I don't understand all that kind of stuff. But I'm like, well, I don't understand what the weight of a vehicle, really matters, because I've never known.
They claim here's a big problem I have with that, because they claim that destroys the roads. All right, now if I take that their word, and they always want truck drivers to pay extra to get overweight limits and overweight and all that stuff like that. And New York even goes further and even taxes pickup trucks according to what you claim the weight's going to be. In New York, a pickup truck is a commercial vehicle. So in fact, my dad, who lives in New York, he's got an actual overweight ticket in a pickup truck. Get that.
Yeah, that's great.
But, they claim this stuff, and they do have, if you're going to be overweight, you can pay extra and stuff like that. But where is that money going? Because the roads are still crumbling. I mean, I don't see where they're using the money according to what they say, it's supposed to be going for.
We know
nuts.
Oklahoma uses every tax dollar for roads that they say they're going to use.
Oh yeah, we see that. My dirt road that I live on is smoother than a lot of roads in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But that's one of the crazy. And then the way stations. They take forever to go through. We've paid lots of money for those brand new way stations, and they're the most outdated way stations I have seen. It's crazy.
I will not tell you again, Oklahoma Tomcat, that they are called revenue stations. Okay.
Oh
okay,
yeah, revenue stations. Yeah, and time wasters. Now, how about this open carry? Because that's another one. I mean, not open carry, because Oklahoma does have open carry, thank goodness. But how about this constitutional carry? If we do, I'm not going to say if. When Chris Powell does get elected, and he's going to approve that, he's going to approve that bill. I'm pretty sure you're going to be one of those that will sign it, right?
Oh, absolutely. I was telling Travis earlier. I think constitutional carry here was a bit of a game because the House passed it through, the Senate got it through, and then that Mary, she didn't sign it. So you need to send us back there so we can get that constitutional carry pushed through, and we'll get it signed. That's to me how I see how that whole situation played out. But absolutely, 100%, I'm for constitutional carry. I'm pretty libertarian when it comes to weapons in our homes. So, yeah.
Now, what will it take to get you to run in my district? Because I don't have a libertarian running.
Well, I would have you start talking to people and see who else is libertarian in your district, and maybe you can find someone right there to do it. I think we got a lot of growth potential here in Oklahoma. As you said before, a lot of people in Oklahoma, and I'll be frank, I think every American doesn't want the government telling them what they can or can't do. That no matter where you are on the political spectrum, that has been driven into us from the very beginning. We don't like to be told what to do by the government. Some people like to tell others what to do with the government, but nobody wants to be told what to do. So as far as Oklahoma goes, I think we've got a lot of potential here in Oklahoma, especially if we start concentrating on those things that the other two parties have neglected, like the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, civil liberties, free speech. If we start nailing on those issues, I think Oklahoma is going to come around to it.
Yeah, because with that gun thing, that there was like a slap in the face right to the people in the Republicans in Oklahoma that voted for Mary Fallon, which I warned everyone. I warned everybody about her. I was so mad when she got reelected, but it just goes to show that even these elected officials, that are Republican, they are not for the Constitution at all. They're not for freedom at all. They want power just like the Democrats do.
Yep. Yeah, no arguments here.
Now, what would you say to people, because I hear this a lot. Now, in the past, in Oklahoma, people kept on saying they are tired of the two-party system. Well, now we don't have the two-party system anymore. We do have an alternative. But yet now people keep on saying, well, voting for Libertarian is a wasted vote. What would you say to that?
Well, I tell them a wasted vote is a vote in an election you already know the outcome. And those elections happened in North Korea and Cuba and other places like that, where you already know how the vote's going to turn out before you ever vote. So unless you believe every single one of our elections are rigged, you can't have a wasted vote in America. Now, if they clarify their answer by saying, well, you're just statistically not going to win. Well, here's how that works, okay? You tell me, hey, I like you. I like where you stand on the issue. But I'm not going to vote for you because you're not going to win. Well, guess what? In November, I'm not going to win because you didn't vote for me. And then you're going to decide, man, nothing ever changes in politics. That's because you don't vote any different. And so if you really want some change, then you got to vote. And you got to tell your friends to vote. And you got to come help me knock doors and tell other people to vote. Because that's the only way people win.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
And that was very well said, because when they say Libertarian or third party will never win, I'm like, well, that's because you guys keep voting the same way,
Yeah.
And see, that's why I kind of get really upset with the voters, because I'm like, you guys, that's insanity to keep voting for the same people and expect a different outcome. And that's what they're doing. We've seen it, both Democrats, even right here in Oklahoma, we've seen both Democrats and Republicans, And what's the difference? And in fact, Republicans are constantly saying, oh, we need more money. We need to raise taxes. We need to raise taxes. I'm like, Republicans, now you guys are for higher taxes? I mean, when did that happen?
Yeah, and I'll say this. I've knocked on a lot of doors in my district, and no one's ever told me that to my face. Maybe they thought it afterwards or what, but no one's ever told me to my face, I like you, but it's a waste of vote for you. No one's ever told me. And so hopefully a lot of people in our district don't actually believe that. But, we'll see. We'll see in November.
I'm going to make a prediction. You will win.
I sure hope so.
I hope so too, and I encourage everyone. I mean, unfortunately, you're not in my district, you know. But I want to push all libertarian. You know, I want to push for. You know, we got to band together and support everyone running. You know, get the word out there and everything. You know, even if you're not in our district, you know, we need to get the word out there. I want to make Oklahoma libertarian.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you, this is a winnable race, and it's winnable for a couple of reasons. One, there's not an incumbent. I'm not running against someone who's already in there. This is an open seat. This is also a four-way race. It's one of two races in the state that's four ways. And so that means I don't need to get just a simple majority. I can have less than 50% and I can win. And so this is a very, very winnable race. And I'm not sure enough people understand that. But, you know, if people are wondering where to put their effort, where to put their money on a race winnable, this is one of them. This is 100% a winnable race.
And that's important for people. That goes back to education, you know, where people need to understand how our elections work. Because I mean, you have a. I mean, I hear Larry Sharp up in New York, who's a libertarian running for governor up there. We've had him on our show, and he says the same exact thing. He says, you know, this is winnable because I don't need a simple, you know, I can win with less than 50%, you know, because he's also in that same situation, you know.
It'll probably take 3,500 or 4,000 votes to win. If I got that.
Man, everyone listening, hear that, you know. Because I mean this is where it's one vote can do it, you know.
Yeah, and I think not just like, you know, the public, but libertarians need to know this is a winnable race. And I'll say this too: another winnable race I think in Oklahoma is for state auditor, John Yider.
Yes.
It's just him and a Republican.
Contacting him.
That's it.
Yep.
It's just him and the Republican. And
I think if there's working on getting him.
Yeah, if there's going to be someone who's going to audit the government, it probably shouldn't be the person with the party in power.
That's right.
You know?
I mean, we got short time left. I hate to cut you off, but Travis is doing the countdown now. So real quick, one more time. I know you said it before, but how can people reach you?
Honestly, the best way is through email. Lee for Liberty 2018. That's FOR, Lee for FOR Liberty 2018 @gmail.com. That's really the best way. They can find me on Facebook. I put everything I do on there. They can hit me up on Twitter as well. Lee for Liberty OK. But that's really, email is the best way. And I need all the help I can get. And money's great, but honestly, I've got enough money to print all the flyers I need. I need people to show up and help me knock doors. That's the only way I'm going to win this race, and that's where I need people.
All right, so everyone pitch in and help out. And if you guys want to find out where to find our shows, we're on lots of podcasts, too many to list. Go to ptat.show. That's Papa Tango Alpha Tango.show. And we will have our next show Monday, which we have another guest coming on Monday. Y'all take care. And thank you so much for being on our show, Lee Miller.
You're very welcome.